But of course, the media folks who don't want any objections to this election result, who they've already declared an unquestioned winner, forget any allegations of fraud, are furious that people like Senator Ron Johnson from Wisconsin is daring to question the election. Despite what I just told you, there's been no addressing of the unconstitutional election changes, Pennsylvania specifically, rejection rates, roll-off, the video at State Farm, the allegations of vote switching. There's been almost no serious rebuttal other than it's a conspiracy theory. Here's Chuck Todd and Ron Johnson this weekend before I get to the Trump tapes. And Chuck Todd absolutely losing his mind that Ron Johnson dares to ask questions. Check this out.
It was a 3.5-hour hearing. We barely scratched the surface, but organize the allegations. Let's take off the table the ones that have been explained, but also acknowledge the problem areas that have not been explained so that we can restore confidence in our election system. This is an unsustainable state of affairs right now. Yeah. And that's all we're saying is as long as somebody's going to be objecting to this and we're going to be taking a vote, let's propose a solution in terms of transparency, investigation with the commission.
All right, Senator, I want to quote Senator Ben Sasse for you, because what you're alleging is essentially you and your colleagues have created this controversy. So right now we are locked into a destructive, vicious circle in some ways, as you kind of outlined, which is you made an allegation that there was widespread fraud. You have failed to offer specific evidence of that widespread fraud, but you're demanding an investigation on the grounds that there are allegations of widespread fraud. So essentially, you're the arsonist here. President Trump is the arsonist here. You've started this fire, and now you're saying, whoa, look at this. Oh, my God. All these people believe what we told them because you didn't have the guts to tell the truth that this election was fair.
So Chuck Todd, who, Joe, do you see his face, by the way, folks? If you're not watching the show on Rumble, please watch rumble.com/Bongino. Just look at Chuck Todd's face. He reminds you of every sniveling, beaver-faced little moron you ever grew up with in your entire life. Whenever you can, right? You see his face? He's outraged that Republican senator from Wisconsin, so you have context to this video, is asking the questions I just asked about this election and is going to object to the Electoral College counting of votes in states where suspicious activity occurred. Joe, he's furious. He's furious, Chuck Todd.
Yes.
Beaver face. Yeah, you see his face, the puss on him? Oh, he's devastated. Now, you know what's weird? This objecting to the counting of the electoral votes coming up in a couple days on January 6th. I don't remember Chuck Todd, NBC, or anyone in the liberal media having a meltdown with the beaver face like Chuck Todd. I don't remember any of that. When this happened in 2005, when George W. Bush won re-election, and a bunch of Democrats went to the House floor in conjunction with Senator Barbara Boxer, Democrat from California, when a bunch of Democrats went to the House floor to object to the vote count in Ohio. I don't remember Chuck Todd doing the beaver face any time when that happened. Oh, you don't believe me? You think it's unprecedented that Republican senators are going to object to the counting of the electoral votes in states where this suspicious activity I just laid out occurred? You think it's just checking, Armacost, as the audience ombudsman. The very definition of unprecedented means without precedent, correct?
That's right.
Thank you very much. Just checking there, making sure doing right on the horse blinders, right on target. So if this is unprecedented, what Republican senators and congressmen are doing, saying, hey, we want answers to these questions about this election before we agree to certify anything or agree to not object to anything on January 6th. That would mean if it was unprecedented, there was no precedent for it. So let's roll the videotape here showing you how Beaverface was losing his mind over nothing here. Let's roll the videotape of numerous congressmen and women up on Capitol Hill, all Democrats, by the way, objecting to the 2005 re-election of George W. Bush in the House floor. By the way, here's the precedent for the unprecedented activity. Check this out.
The chair now hands to the tellers the certificate of the electors for president and Vice President of the state of Florida.
Mr. President, the objection is in writing, signed by a number of members of the House of Representatives, but not by a member of the Senate.
Mr. President, I stand for the purpose of objecting to the counting of the vote from the state of Florida as read.
Mr. President, I rise
on behalf of the Congressional Black Caucus to object to the 25 electoral votes from Florida.
Mr. President, thank you for your inquiry. It is in writing. It is signed by myself on behalf of my diverse constituents and the millions of Americans who have been disenfranchised by Florida's inaccurate vote count.
Is the objection signed by a senator?
Well, Mr. President, I am objecting to the idea that votes in Florida were not counted.
The clerk will report the objection.
We, a member of the House of Representatives and a United States Senator, object to the counting of the electoral votes of the state of Ohio on the ground that they were not, under all of the known circumstances, regularly given. Signed, Stephanie Tubbs Jones, State of Ohio. Barbara Boxer, State of California.
The objection today is raised because there are irregularities across this country with regard to voting. And we as a Congress have an obligation to step up to the plate and correct them.
Mr. Speaker and members, I dedicate my objection to Ohio's electoral votes to Mr. Michael Moore, the producer of the documentary 9/11.
Now, you may be saying, Dan, you left out some context to that montage of Democrat zeros objecting to the election. It started out in the beginning. If you go back and watch and listen again, if you're watching, you can see it's C-SPAN footage. You'll see in the chyron in the corner that actually begins in 2001. Dan, you said that was an objection to the 2005 re-election of Bush. I did that on purpose because, as producer Joe accurately stated, the Democrats and Beaverface Chuck Todd are claiming an objection to the electoral vote is unprecedented, meaning without precedent for the Democrats listening. I know that's tough for you. Not only is that video at the end of 2005, Maxine Waters and others objecting to George W. Bush's re-election, it's an objection in 2001 by Democrats too to the election of George W. Bush the exact same way. So really, really weird that something that's, credit air quotes, unprecedented, actually not only has precedent, but has precedent twice.
You just heard Dan Bongino.